What's up, watchers? Will the Greatest here, and we are back for part 3 in our American Pie retrospective, looking at the one movie in the franchise I actually don't think I sat down and watched prior to this retrospective at some point growing up. Very odd. So originally, this was supposed to be the last American Pie movie, but because Hollywood has this strange obsession with trilogies and all great things come in threes, I suppose, our boy Adam Herz returns to pen the script, but this time the directing chair is held by Jesse Dillon. Jesse, you may know for directing Kicking and Screaming, How High, Crips and Bloods, Made in America. Didn't expect those last two. Oh, and he's apparently one of the kids of Bob Dylan. So who better to direct a movie about one of the biggest life changes you can make than the son of the man who wrote The Times They Are A-Changing. I hope I got that reference right. Anyways, with all that said, let's get into the recap for American Pie 3, The Wedding. The movie opens with a clearly increased production budget as Jim and Michelle toast to their upcoming graduation. After 3 years of dating, Jim tries to get the words out to propose to his kinky and hilarious redheaded girlfriend, but lo and behold, old college-educated dumbass left his ring. But lest he worry, Papa Noah is on the case to deliver the ring and save the potential engagement. So, not so much a bomb under the table, but certainly something else that starts with a B and ends with an explosion. The opening harkens back to Jim beating off in a tube sock while his parents walk in. Now look at him, getting head at a fancy restaurant with his dad walking in to give him the proposal ring.
You know, that's romantic.
Yo, I won't hold you. Watching the sequence of events unfold from Jim standing with his dick in the wind to Michelle coming from the table to Noah putting 2 and 2 together had me in full stitches. I'm not going to lie, the beginning of this movie is absolutely hilarious. But the scene continues with the proposal. Michelle says yes, and we get a really poorly implemented title card. Yeah, I'm like the Amy Schumer of YouTube references, I swear. Anyways, Kevin, Finch, Jim, and Michelle meet at a bar to play a little bit of catch-up. Jim doesn't know how to dance, which I'm sure wasn't just a setup for a future scene, as we get to see the engagement party. We get introduced to Michelle's parents, Mary and Harold, played by Deborah Rush and Fred Willard respectively, as well as the return of John the MILF Man. Also, rest in peace to Fred Willard, film comedy legend, God rest his soul. And just as we think we can get a moment of peace, some fun times with friends and family, the god of chaos and fucking himself, Stifler, makes his triumphant return to the screen just before the 10-minute mark. And as expected, everything goes wrong in his presence. Now, I can tell by the way he's written here and by the character's relatives in the spin-offs, he must have had some immense popularity at the time, but also, he seems much more malicious, which I think is kind of a part of Stifler, but it doesn't exactly make him likable. And I'm certain this will come back down the road when we get to the reunion. But we got a couple more movies to get to before we get to that. Yikes. I just feel really bad for Jim. I mean, he's just seemingly cursed to fail hard just to succeed only a little bit in life. It's like the epitome of 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Meanwhile, Stifler is just a man stuck in his high school days, trying to relive his former glory, and the cracks are just starting to show by the time you get to the 3rd movie. But God bless Sean William Scott, he is putting his all into this human taint of a character.
Hold on! Jim's getting married, isn't he? Holy fucking shit, this is major! Do you have the slightest idea of how important this is? We get to have a bachelor party. Yes! We celebrate the death of Jim with a party in his honor. Chicks and boobs, tits and ass, titties, tatas, casabas, bazungas, all up in our friggin' faces.
We get Jim exhausting his rational frustrations about the upcoming wedding. Kevin offers some rational encouragement, saying that, yeah, making Michelle and her family happy may be difficult, but it's not unrealistic, nor is it impossible. Finch, in his own special way, echoes the sentiment, inviting the idea of doing some research to seem more appealing to Michelle and her family. All the while, Stifler begins making plans as Jim's unofficial bachelor party planner. Jim confronts the human equivalent of Viagra, who somehow has a job as a football coach at their old high school, and as Jim is in the process of rejecting his offer, he discloses to Stifler that, well, turns out Stifler has some moves, one of the missing ingredients for Jim's impending nuptials. The two get some dance practice, and it really starts to sink in how unsettlingly committed Stifler has become to this pussy-driven Shell of a man who has enough self-awareness to know how to manipulate people, but not enough to actually be a good enough friend to just do things without expecting some sort of reciprocity, I suppose. So, the boys are now on a journey to find the perfect wedding dress for Michelle. Along the way to find a dressmaker, Stifler winds up in a gay bar and just hijinks ensue.
How you feeling, sexy?
Pretty good.
Whoa, you have a deep voice.
That's not all.
Oh, right.
You look really cute tonight.
Thanks, I guess. What the?
What culminates is interesting because despite leaning into some pretty dated stereotypes and jokes about queer people, Stifler is still painted out to be the asshole in this situation. It's actually a moment where we get to see him get knocked down a little bit. And immediately what follows is Stifler engaging in a dance-off in the middle of a gay bar, which, I won't lie, it did get a bit of a genuine laugh out of me for how unexpected it was as a sequence. But thanks to Stifler, they meet Leslie Summers, the person who will commission the dress, and the dress is successfully, commissioned. I'm gonna skip past the real girls comment, as the dude from the bar may have also secured some women for their future bachelor party. Finch and Michelle go to greet her younger sister, Cadence, who has some interesting taste in literature.
Paul Finch. Finch, meet my younger sister, Cadence.
Nice to meet you.
You're reading Descartes.
Yep. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am.
Fuck Descartes. All the while, Finch seems smitten with the blonde beauty. He isn't alone either, as Stifler eavesdrops and tries to run some game on the unfamiliar sister and, later, their mother.
That was really sweet of you.
Yeah, I love old people. Hey, I hate to be nosy and impolite, but do you know Jim Levinstein and Michelle Flaherty?
Yeah.
Are they here?
Well, I'm Cadence, Michelle's sister.
I had no idea. I'm their good friend Steven.
Watching Stifler pretend to be nice in order to get into Cadence's pants and the family's good graces really pushes my suspension of disbelief given how familiar I have grown with the character over the movies thus far.
Look, maybe we should give him a chance. You know, I think that underneath all the fucks and shits and blomies, there's a very sensitive person who is just thirsty for acceptance. That's what I think.
That's a lot of optimism there, Jim. Optimism I don't have faith in.
Jim, you've got to stop masturbating. It's melting your brain.
And as much shit as I give Stifler, and I will continue to give him, he does address to Jim one of his core character weaknesses throughout the franchise, which has been his overall lack of confidence. Something that would realistically probably doom him, but for our story purposes, he musters up enough in himself regularly to actively pursue what he wants. Then, in what I get to appreciate as a little bit of karmic revenge, we get to see some of Stifler's tactics used against him by Finch to further woo Cadence. Stifler, being a bit of a shit, does give Jim something to think about regarding his relationship with Michelle, given she is, essentially, the only woman he's really been with sexually, which I think does introduce an interesting character study for Jim about how much he weighs the merits of sex in his relationship in comparison to emotional connection.
You know, Michelle is the only girl that I've been with. Honestly now. Honestly, would you have passed up sex with Nadia?
Why, did she say something?
While I will concede that the line was fucking funny, I think Noah was coming from a good place when letting Jim know that sexual experience isn't the only thing that goes into marriage. I say as a single man. So the bachelor party starts, and Finch is revealed to be a student from the school of Mandy B.
Stick a finger in my ass!
The ass. The Buddha hole.
Now, I can't show most of the scene because fucking bare white titties, but it sure is an experience. We get a very engaging role-playing German maid and leather police officer, and just... I'm honestly lost for words. And in a matter of seconds, the entire sequence is nearly ruined as we see that Jim and Michelle's parents are coming up the fucking driveway. Time to hide the titties. You know what? It actually works. For about 25 seconds. Now, remember what I've said about the other two films with the whole bomb under the table metaphor as the analogy as we, the audience, and then in that one case of the characters know something is happening, but they really can't tell the other party? Well, there's a reason it's called a rule of threes. In comparison to Stifler drinking a nutty beer and Stifler taking a golden shower, we now have Stifler ruining a dinner, featuring some bad ADR.
How do you do?
Very rapidly, the evening unravels into chaos with Stifler coming to save the day. He even ends up with the family ring, leading to him now becoming important to the wedding, as they say. The two families make their way up north for the wedding as we get to see a live reversal of Finch and Stifler, to the degree that I wonder if the two actors originally auditioned for each other's roles, and how there's a weird timeline where that's still the case.
Mr. Fuckface Finch called here, and Mr. Idiot behind the desk canceled it.
Christoph, please pardon my friend's uncouth behavior. I did no such thing.
Go blow your dad.
My dad?
Here, here.
Yeah, and while you're there, stick a finger up both their asses while you're down there.
Finch, rudeness and obscenity won't change anything.
Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls, magically sprout a dick, shove it up your ass, stop fucking yourself like...
Jim gets a chance to trim his pubes, and a bunch of dumbasses with a fan in a kitchen by an open window receive the brunt of that. Then Stifler, aka Sergeant Stupid, finally starts to open up a little bit to Cadence and even gets a kiss, but in the process accidentally throws the wedding band to the dogs, thus having him literally waiting for dog shit. Hijinks ensue. We get a sequence building up to the long-drawn joke of Stifler eating shit, and as much as I think it's deserved, the joke just runs too damn long. My God. Ha! Stifler eats shit to the family. He's brown-nosing. It's ironic. And skipping past the stuff with Cadence and Grandma knowing Michelle is a Gentile, we just get several minutes more of Stifler being rejected by the only people who actually give any halves of a shit about him, despite their apprehension to even involve him.
Maybe you should just leave, Stifler.
Fine. Adios.
Now, I don't want to step on any toes with this, but does Stifler have a disability? Sex addiction aside, he's consistently shown himself to be an angry, uncaring narcissist who only acts in his own self-interest and uses manipulative methods in order to make things go his way. So, this is the part where the movie proves me wrong, isn't it? Yeah, we get to see Stifler actually go out of his way to try and restore the dead flowers that he killed for the wedding, and bring in his whole football team to help. He even, somehow, manages to finesse the pussy at the 11th hour from Cadence in a double apology regret play. I'll get to my problems with that at the end. What we get following that is actually some touching and kind of humorous moments between Michelle and Papa Levinstein, as well as with Jim and his groomsmen up against a very rough-looking green screen, or just a really poorly lit location. Stifler mistakenly pipes down Jim's grandmother, confusing her for Cadence. Again, that did give me an unexpected laugh. But finally, we get to see the fucking titular wedding take place. Yes, we get to experience the wedding portion of American Wedding.
Grandmother fucker. You're a motherfucker. Yes, I am. Oh, you son of a bitch.
There's a very lovely exchange of vows between the two characters that takes us down a verbal memory lane of events, culminating with us finally seeing Jim and Michelle's first dance as the new Mr. and Mrs. Levinstein.
How did a little perv like you turn into such a great guy?
How did a little nympho like you turn into such a great girl?
I'm still an info.
Well, I'm still a perv.
I know. What's wrong with us?
Stifler's mom even makes her regular cameo to whisk Finch away from the reception for a horizontal tango of their own, as the film closes out to the same song that opened up the film. Laid by Matt Nathanson. So, how did the film hold up with what was originally supposed to be the ending point for the American Pie franchise? Not very well. My biggest problem with the movie is that despite being called American Wedding, I'd argue that Jim Levinstein and his relationship with Michelle just takes a backseat and gets overshadowed by whatever antics Stifler gets into. Although the narrative was focused around their relationship, it wasn't well focused on it. Michelle is a character who has grown on me a lot, and I do like, but in the franchise, despite being on the cover, we don't see enough of her relationship with Jim. How it's changed or even maintained since they started going to college at the beginning of American Pie 2, and what issues she may even have. An nymphomaniac marrying a pervert is a good setup to some interesting jokes, but we barely get exposure to her actual relationship with her parents, her sister. Hell, did she have any friends that we may recognize? I mean, I wish we could have seen more of her struggle with her vows. That scene with her and Noah was genuinely heartwarming and funny. Allison Hannigan is a good comedic actress. She's one of the few redeeming qualities in Date Movie. You know, remember Date Movie? And I know the series kind of revolves around our high school guys, but they could stand to branch out when she's on the cover of the fucking poster. With that being said, where the fuck is Ozzy? According to interviews, the actor Chris Klein said he wasn't asked to return. Maybe because they were worried they wouldn't find anything to do, like, I don't know, make him a coach for a school football team, or help Jim learn how to dance, or help him plan his fucking bachelor party. You know, those things that were relegated to fucking Stifler. Now, speaking of, he may be my biggest gripe with the movie. I can see how a decent-looking, tall, angry white boy who fucks a lot would be seen as an engaging character in 1999. But when that's all he really is by the time we get to 2003, and he's barely shown any growth, you can't just make the movie a half-assed redemption arc. That entire last sequence of his horny negligence destroying the entire bouquet for the wedding, and then somehow getting it fixed by convincing the florist to not give up on people was just hot horse shit. And the fact that everyone forgave him so fast not only rushed, but essentially showed no long-standing consequences for that fucking character. And I know I'm ranting about an annoying character in a fucking late 90s, early 2000s sex comedy, but maybe have him learn a lesson other than a few words and doing the bare minimum to people I consider friends means I'm okay. I'm cool. That's all I have to do to be a decent person in this life. Like, if I were really talking about what the movie should have done, have it focus on the struggles with Jim and Michelle, and have them have to meet their expectations of their families and each other for the wedding. Have Kevin and Finch and Oz act as supporting groomsmen for physical comedy and also supporting words, you know, like they did in the first movie. And have Stifler crash the wedding and then learn that he can't be an asshole always just to be successful. That is not how shit should work. You don't get to fucking fail upwards. And then Kevin can teach Jim commitment. Finch can teach him how to be elegant. And then Oz could have been the motivator for Jim to have confidence. Boom! I fixed it! I know I shouldn't have expected much from a sex comedy, but I'm sorry, I have standard for expectations that the same creator set. Overall, so far, American Wedding is the weakest of the original trilogy of movies. Despite having a higher budget, which clearly went into shooting at more locations and with better cameras, and even some solid acting part of the course, it just can't be saved from having a weak script. I give the film some credit for having a few moments that genuinely did make me laugh and feel, and hell, even the gay jokes and characters weren't the worst of stereotypes. Honestly, even if there weren't any vaguely homophobic things that were in the movie, they were either not played for laughs, or Stifler, who was the only one who had an issue with gay people, got his comeuppance. Sort of. The only reason I would say to watch it is if you're either marathoning it, like me, an idiot, or if you want a little bit of context before going into American Reunion. Which, speaking of, we won't get into that next time. Next time, we start going through the spinoffs. That's right, I'm going to make you wait to finish this franchise. So we're going in chronological order, baby, starting with American Pie Presents Bandcamp. One of, if not the first movie that got me into this godforsaken mess of a franchise. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of American Reunion? While you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm Will the Greatest, and I please ask you to be excellent to one another. See you next time. Have a good one.